Hi, I'm Bruce Arnold. I want to talk to you a little bit today about music theory. What I really want to do with this video is really get down to some real basic stuff that, many students when they're starting, they love guitar and they love music and they really just want to learn how to play. But when they start dealing with music theory, it just doesn't make sense to them. So let's just talk about some real simple concepts here so that you understand the real basics of music theory, and that's going to help you as you move on and study music or start studying music theory more seriously. First of all, in Western music, there's 12 notes that we use, and we put those all together and we call them the chromatic scale, okay? If we were going to do that on a guitar, let's say we started on this C, and that's this first fret of the B string, okay? And if you can play along with your guitar on this, it is going to help you to kind of visualize this. So if we go all the way up to here, which is another C, that's 12 notes. Now the first thing people don't understand is, why is this note C and that note C? Well, what's happening here is this note up here is an octave above this note. What's an octave mean? What's happening here is this note is vibrating at a certain frequency. So it's vibrating the air, and that's why we hear it as the pitch C, okay? When we go up to this C, it's vibrating the air twice as fast, and our ears hear that as the same note because of the vibration has doubled. Okay, so that's what an octave is. It's a doubling of the frequency. Now back to our 12 notes. We have, I'm just going to go through them slowly. We got C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, and then we're back to C. Okay? Now, some other things. I said C and then I said C sharp. Well, some of you might say, well, I heard somebody talk about flats. Yes, this is C sharp is D flat. They call that an enharmonic spelling. Okay? Don't worry about that word so much right now, but just remember that a C sharp and a D flat on a guitar or on a piano are the same notes, or on any instrument that has a fixed pitch like this, like a guitar or piano. You have D, D sharp, that could also be E flat, E, and then it goes to F. Now some people say, well, why isn't there an E sharp? And really it goes back to the history of music and how music over a long period of time developed. So you have all these inconsistencies, and this is one of the things you have to memorize, that is between an E and an F, there is no, you could call an F an E sharp, but let's not go there right now, because you can call all kinds of notes sharped or double flatted or double sharped. Don't worry yourself with that right now. Just remember that between E and F, there's no sharps or flats. That's just all that there is. Then there's F sharp, which could be G flat, G, G sharp, which also could be A flat, A sharp, which could also be B flat, B, and C. Now, on the guitar, each of these notes that I'm going to is a half step. So from C to C sharp is a half step. From C to D is a whole step. All right? So your frets are a half step apart. But if you move 2 frets, that's going to be a whole step. If you move 3 frets, that's going to be a minor third. 4 is going to be a major third. 5 is going to be a fourth. And so on and so on. They keep moving up. And those are called intervals. So between C and C sharp is a half step, and that's a half step interval. Okay? Now they also use other names to call these things. Like C to C sharp is also called a minor second. All right, and C to D is called a major second. So there's 2 different names that they give for these notes. Like this could be a flat 2, it could be a minor second, or it could be a half step interval. All right, so there's lots of different names, and that's one of the things I think that confuses people. So right now, don't worry about remembering all this stuff, but I think what you should do is just watch this video a few times, and at the end here I'll recommend some books to help you get started with learning music theory on the guitar. But let's just review now. What we've talked about here is that there's 12 notes in a chromatic scale. In Western music, we just use 12 notes. There are more notes, you know, in other systems like the Indian music, you'll find, you know, 24 or more notes to use. But in Western music, we use 12. That the distance between each fret is a half step, all right? And that there's enharmonic spellings for notes, so C, you got C sharp, that could be C sharp or D flat. It's another thing to remember. And then the other thing to remember is that when you start moving to different notes, like C up to D, that's going to be called a certain interval, like a major second. All right, so there's other names that these notes will use. Now, how do we go about memorizing all this stuff? Well, one of the problems is that people think if they just go watch a bunch of videos or, you know, buy a couple books and just read about music theory, that somehow they now know it. And that's just not true. You need to work through different exercises so that you get to the point that it becomes a language for you. So the books that I would recommend are Music Theory Workbook for Guitar, Volume 1s and Volume 2. Now what you have there is a book that is going to allow you to work on learning music theory, and it's going to start you right from the total beginning, but also get you so that you're applying it directly to your instrument. And that's very important because remember, you want this to become a language that you just know not only in your mind but directly onto your instrument. Okay? So Volume 1 of Music Theory Work for Guitar will give you exercises in learning all your chords and how they're spelled and the notes in them. And then there's Music Theory Workbook Volume 2, which will give you all the scales that you need to know and teach you how to play them all on the guitar in every place. So by working through books like that, it's going to really help you to change this music theory to being something that's kind of out there that you don't really know what it is, and it takes you a minute to figure out what the notes are. You want this to be instant access, so it becomes a language to you. So check out Music Theory Workbook Volume 1 and Volume 2. Follow the links on the website, and that will really get you started on the right direction in learning music.